I'm afraid, and I feel that it's a wrong place. If the mayor wants to come up and speak, or BJ, I'm open. I'm not trying to,
Margaret, I'm happy to hear your concerns, but it was never shared but until the introduction of this resolution. I came here very simply, very openly presented a process, presented the information, presented the timeline, presented the facts, presented the tonnage. Then, and I asked everybody, respectfully requested the council's patience, because this is the legislative body of the County of Hawaii, but procurement is a very strict process, and I asked us to respect it, and the council said, fine, we'll respect it. My entire administration has been instructed that if I find anyone having lunch, breakfast, or a meeting with any potential vendor, they'll be immediately terminated. The council should conduct themselves the same way. Now I want to ask you, Margaret, did a vendor come up to you and ask you to introduce this resolution because they were concerned they might have been excluded? Did somebody approach you to introduce this reso and say, let's stop a request for proposal at the County of Hawaii?
No.
Margaret, I don't know what's in the proposal. I haven't seen it. Nobody is entitled to look at procurement. I have a corporation council and a review committee and consultants who are professionals looking at this. And when I see testimony comes up about the county taking an administration not respecting recycling, it's offensive, Margaret. What my job is as a chief executive, as mayor, is put together an integral, fair process. Do you know why I'm so strict with everybody connected to this? Because no matter who is awarded, ultimately, this RFP, whoever isn't awarded it, will file a contest to the award. Why? Because it's big money. Might be the biggest contract this council ever awards. So everybody else who doesn't get it will hire lawyers and spend $1 million to $2 million pursuing that, hoping that maybe they can break that award, hoping that maybe they can find a flaw in the process. And you bring up guest speakers to imply and infer. By the way, aloha to National Resource Defense Council. I'm a former attorney at Sierra Club Legal Defense. Very proud of this administration's environmental record every step of the way. I'm not only born and raised here, I live here with my beautiful wife. We raised 3 children here. I'm going to die here. So any implication that somehow we want to profit or gain through public policy is incredibly offensive. If there were 20 examples of malfeasance, maybe I might entertain that. But to introduce this, when I humbly and respectfully ask this council for patience, and then we get continued hearings so people can get upset and angry, how can anybody know what's going on? I don't know what's going on. All I know, it went from 8 to 3. I have never seen the proposal. Why? Because it's procurement. And we know we're headed for litigation. So every step of the way, every I has to be dotted, every T crossed. Craig Masuda is instructed weekly to come up with his best legal advice, and so is every other administration employee. And I am not mincing any words when I say there are no excuses. I don't want to hear, oh, I had lunch with my law school classmate or somebody I grew up with, small kid time, but just so happened he worked for a vendor. You'll be terminated. To suggest that this RFP prohibits recycling, diminishes this administration's commitment, is not only false, it's offensive. This resolution is ill-timed, ill-conceived, and unnecessary. I humbly ask this council to consider this resolution and vote on it today so that the process can move forward unimpeded by misinformation or inaccurate representations.
So, to the extent that you found this offensive, I apologize, but that was not my intent, and I think that it's important for me to raise those issues, and they're being raised. I look at the communities in my area and the direction that they want to go, and that's who I feel I have to represent. I felt it would be offensive for me to wait, given my concerns, so I wanted to voice them as soon as possible, and I did not question your dedication to or recycling, organics, reuse. It's just that I feel that that's in conflict with the amount of waste that would be needed for an incinerator. So that was my concern. It's not discrediting you in terms of your objectives. It's how do those two mesh and whether there's a conflict. So let's move forward. And I still feel strongly, I still feel afraid, and will hope that we proceed and are able to meet those objectives and not end up where other municipalities who had the same objectives have by adopting a mass burn facility.
Now we're going to be voting on Resolution 452-14. At this time, Mr. Clerk, I'd like to do a roll call for the vote on Resolution 452-14.
Ms. Yoff?
No.
Ms. Ford?
Honolulu, aye.
Mr. Ligon?
No.
Mr. Kanuha?
No.
Mr. Kern?
No.
Mr. Onishi? Mr. Yoshimoto?
No.
Ms. Willie?
Aye.
Chair Poindexter?
No.
Chair Poindexter, you have 2 ayes and 7 noes.
Okay, so Resolution 452-14 fails and moves forward to council with a negative recommendation.